What is crack-a-lackin', fellow thermonuclear AFers? I am Dan Favali, coming at you with the one, the only, the certified fantabulous Mr. Grant Hughes. We have, finally, Western Conference 2022 offseason regrades for you, where we're going to try and hold ourselves accountable. Hashtag canceled. And we're excited to do them. Before we get started, I have not been reminding new listeners of forgetting them to subscribe or to share these episodes, because I'm not going to put our guests through that on the look-aheads. Do that. Subscribe if you haven't already. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your pods. Share these episodes. Tell people about us if you've done all those things. Join our Discord, where there is now a Emo AF channel. So if you want my random emo music recommendations or some Blink-182 thoughts, really big moment in the Favali household at these parts. We're recording this on Friday, September 22nd, day after Blink-182 dropped 2 songs. So it's not a national holiday, but it's pretty damn close in my opinion. So join our Discord. The link's in the YouTube and podcast descriptions. Follow us on the socials. TikTok is at HardwoodKnocks, as is Twitter, at Hardwood_Knocks on IG. I believe buy our merch, support the show with merch. The link to that is in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. To Grant, how the heck are you doing?
I'm doing really well. International holiday, maybe, for your household. Forget national. I'm excited. I wanted to speak with you as always, 2, to be held accountable for our previous offseason grades, and 3, because as we were talking before we started recording, I'm really excited about some of our garbage time segments coming up at the end of this. So I know there's some ridiculously high a rate of attrition when people listen to podcasts after you get past a certain point in time. Stick around for the end, hopefully. And we're excited about it, which usually means it's not going to be good. But even if it's bad, it'll be a learning experience, and I think it's going to be fun. So that's a tease. That's a tease for probably an hour plus away. So hopefully it works.
That's real premium talent shit right there. That was a great tease where I didn't even think about. And I don't know when if I'm gonna put out the West or the East first. We've recorded the East already, but this might be the debut of garbage time, depending on what order Grant and I put it out. So we're excited, and also, we've tried some stuff that have faded from the podcast. This isn't going anywhere because we've been recording this content for a while, specifically just to throw it on YouTube and TikTok. But people who might not be on YouTube or TikTok or aren't consuming the super short stuff, we want you to be exposed to it. It's also a lot easier for me to cut it up if it's on the same file, to where Grant and I don't have to start separate StreamYard rooms. So there's your peek behind it. Great tease. Stick around to the end. It'll be timestamped, but listen to us talk about our Western Conference 2022 off-season grades. And do we want to dig into them?
Let us do that. We will start with the Pacific Division, and the first team on our list is the Golden State Warriors. This was weird to look back through this because it feels like a lot happened for this team over the last year. So drafting Patrick Baldwin Jr., we're going to just recap these. I guess we should probably mini preamble in case this comes out before the East grades. We're just looking back at the moves that happened in the 2022 offseason of consequence. We're not going to give you every single one. Hopefully we'll give you the ones that informed the grade we gave last year, and we're going to adjust up or down or not at all, depending on how much reality deviated, I guess, from what we thought that offseason deserved. It is not an exact science, but with that said, Patrick Baldwin Jr. drafted number 28. What else? Ryan Rollins at number 44. Signed Kevon Looney to a 3-year, $22.5 million extension. I'm just going to say now that's an A+.
He got the same amount of guaranteed money that JaVale McGee did last offseason.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that wild?
Signed JaMychal Green for the vet minimum. Signed Dante DiVincenzo using most of their mini MLE. Signed Mac McClung to an Exhibit 9 deal, and Trevion Williams to Exhibit 10. Perhaps more important than anything else were the losses. Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr. signed elsewhere. Damian Lee also left. Juan Toscano Anderson left. Andre Iguodala, at the time we recorded this, was unsigned. He did come back, but played none at all. So did I miss anything there, Dan?
Yeah, we missed, because we recorded, I think before this happened, there was the Andrew Wiggins extension.
Yes.
In October. That was 4 years and 109, right?
Yeah.
It includes a player option at the end. And then the Jordan Poole extension, which came after he was punched by Draymond Green. It can be up to, and it kicks in this season for the Wizards, worth up to 4 years and $128 million. Do you know what the exact guarantee was on that? I have it. Oh, wait, here, finally loaded. It's 123 million guaranteed on the extension.
Yeah. That's a lot. Those two alone are, I'm trying to think now how that would affect my grade. Either of those, I think, well, I guess we could just say we both gave them a flat B. And I don't remember most of my logic for it. I think probably it had to do with, you couldn't have paid Porter and Peyton were going to be replaced in the rotation by Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. So no big deal there. And the Looney deal was great. And I think if we'd done this, honestly, after the Wiggins and Poole deals, I might have moved the grade up because I think that Wiggins deal is so good. And at the time, the Poole deal was like kind of iffy, but just the market rate for, the Tyler Heroes and the Anthony Simons and like that kind of level of player. But I guess before we get more macro, how would you, if at all, have changed your opinion from that B based on with those two deals specifically? Like, is that up or down for you?
It probably would have been neutral because I liked the Wiggins extension. I didn't like the Jordan Poole. I just thought that was way too much money. And it was sort of, I don't know if I'm suffering from, we've seen kind of this impact with Tyler Hero, RJ Barrett. It's like these guys sign their extensions and all of a sudden it feels like the consensus is lower on them. So maybe I'm suffering from that, but he ended up having a bad year. And I know it was a fake first rounder, but he ended up needing to, like, you immediately, before it even kicked in, turned around and got rid of him, which that obviously doesn't impact the grade at the time, but that has to impact the calculus of your regrade, right?
I guess so. That's why this team is so hard, because like the most significant offseason event was the punch. And like, how do we grade that? Like that, because I think pretty clearly that made it maybe this is, relying a little too much on hindsight, but that made Jordan Poole worse. He just was a worse player. He was less bought in. The team trusted him less. And then like that just, Draymond has talked since about how like he didn't really have a voice because he had to kind of be careful because of the breach of trust that punch, cracked wide open, and it just changed everything. So I don't know how to account for the most significant offseason.
Chris Paul is now a warrior because of that punch. It's kind of like the Galaxy brain. What if they don't blow that 3-1 lead, or if Draymond doesn't do that groin kick in the finals and Kevin Durant doesn't come? There's the trickle down effect of, if you don't punch Jordan Poole, is Chris Paul in Washington? Did he get where's Chris Paul right now?
Right. I mean, the counter to that is, if you don't punch Jordan Poole, do they win a second title? Like, because, I mean, that seems a lot less likely than the alternative, even though the Chris Paul being a Warrior thing is like about as unlikely as it gets. If we were talking a year ago and said Chris Paul will be on the team this time next year, that would have been wild. Maybe the way to look at it is this. If Wiggins and Poole are like a wash, is there any move that they made that seems in hindsight like a significant mistake, or a significant, that turned out way better than I expected?
I will say, I think the Kevon Looney deal looks even better now, just like what we know about the cap machinations. And I think the Dante DiVincenzo deal, we always kind of knew that was going to work out well for them, but based how well he played and specifically shot the ball in Golden State, that worked out incredibly well. And look, the Wiggins extension, I know he wasn't the same player at times, missed all that time, had it was a hip injury this year, right? That he had.
Well, and then the sort of more mysterious absence from the team
with his dad being sick. But I was trying to think of, because he came back like from, was it a hip injury first, but
honestly, I don't remember.
That deal still looks great. And so that's why this grade's so tough, because I really think the Jordan Poole extension was a mistake. Just like, did you throw him an extra? Like, would he have gotten 107 million or something if Draymond didn't punch him? And did you let that influence it too much? I think I'm just going to bump them down to a C. Maybe I'll give him a C plus. Just like JaMychal Green, I remember being high on that signing, and that didn't really end up mattering for that. I don't know. The Kevon Looney deal, so good. I'm just going to C plus. Just you still had to get rid of Jordan Poole immediately, and it cost you theoretically an asset to do so.
I think too, we haven't mentioned him yet, but if you want to talk about moves not made affecting the grade, like maybe trading James Wiseman before the season would have netted something better than trading him in season.
Yeah.
Because it was clear from the jump that like at least this past year, that's just not going to work. So I'll guess I'll go from a B to a B minus. Because I do think the Looney deal, the Wiggins deal, the DiVincenzo deal, those are all good. Those like objectively good value moves. And I just don't know how to account for the Poole thing. So I'll go down just a touch from the B.
Which will bring us to the LA Clippers, who they signed Ivica Zubac to his 3-year, $32.8 million extension. They signed Nick Batum to a 2-year, $22.6 million deal. They signed my guy, Amir Coffey, to a 3-year, $11 million deal. They signed John Wall to a 2-year deal worth the full mini MLE. And that's really the only thing those are the only notable moves that they made, unless I'm missing any, aside from they lost Isaiah Hartenstein. Rodney Hood is no longer in the NBA, actually, so they lost him too. Did we miss anything big happen after August 22nd when we recorded those, Grant?
Not that I'm seeing. This was a team that had extremely limited resources. And I think as I'm thinking back now, that accounts for why we were both so high on their offseason, because they did what at the time seemed like really well with basically no wiggle room at all. Does that like ring a bell for you?
Yeah, because I gave them an A- and you gave them an A.
Yeah.
So we were pretty bullish on their offseason. And I think I think the only move where my impressions changed a great deal is just the John Wall contract. But here's my thing. You eventually undid it. And who else were you actually going to get with the mini MLE last year when you look at who signed for that? Like, was Dante DiVincenzo going to go to the Clippers, and is that who they needed? I think you could definitely penalize them because, well, did bringing in John Wall, did that contribute to burying Terrence Mann in the pecking order a little bit, or was Ty Lue always going to do that? But that was really the only miss, because they could not have paid Hartenstein what he got from the Knicks. I do believe, didn't Hartenstein say that there wasn't like a real offer from the Clippers, though? So if you want to ding them that they didn't even say, well, we'll give you our mini MLE if you want to come back. But he also got, the mini MLE was what, what was it? It was 2 years and $11 million for John Wall. So like he got noticeably more. It was 2 years and 13.3, excuse me. Hartenstein got a good deal more than that. Like it was more from the Knicks. So I don't know how much to penalize them for that. If I gave them an A-, I can't imagine. I might drop it down to like a B. And I guess Amir Coffey didn't really do well. I'm going to still say a B+. I have to vacillate between those.
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty sure that I viewed the John Wall signing as like, oh, just a coup. Like, I can't believe he's the perfect fit for them. If big, enormous if, which now we know which side of that if things have fallen on, he's not totally washed. And he was, in fact, washed. Like, he wasn't John Wall anymore. And so he really was not helpful at all to the Clippers last year. So I think because I based so much of my high grade on that, because like the Zubac deal is a pretty darn good value for like a, mid tier, maybe a little better than that starting center. I'm going to go down I got to go down quite a bit from a flat A. I'll go down to I'll go full letter grade down to a B. I mean, it looks really bad
because you were just talking about Zubac. I'm like, maybe I'll stick with the B+, but I'll go B as well.
Yeah. Not a lot happening there. So we're ready to go to the Lakers now, because there's more going on here.
I don't know if Lakers fans are ready for this, but yes, let's go.
All right, so you're definitely going to have to fact check and make sure we didn't miss anything, because this is a long list of stuff. So Russell Westbrook picked up his $47.1 million player option. You might know that he did not end the year on this team, so that tells you how that went. Stanley Johnson also picked up his option. Kendrick Nunn picked up his option. They guaranteed Wenyen Gabriel's deal. LeBron got a 2-year, $97.1 million extension with a player option for 24-25. Lonnie Walker, 1-year deal at the mini MLE. Troy Brown got a vet minimum. Damian Jones, 2 years, 4.9. JTA, 1-year vet minimum. Thomas Bryant got a minimum. Max Christie was the number 35 pick. Cole Swider got a 2-way. Scottie Pippen Jr. got a 2-way. Forgot about that. Let's see. Lost Malik Monk to the Kings. Also Kent Bazemore gone. Listen to these names that were unsigned at the time we did this. Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, like no recollection of this team. DJ Augustine. This is like the 2009 like up and coming all-star list right here. Listen to this. So Augustine, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, Avery Bradley were all unsigned. What a list. What names we had there. And now I don't remember what I gave them. Ooh, we were not kind to them. So you were a D+, I was a D- last year.
Do you know it was so much? The only like big stuff that I think, or the only big thing that we missed or two. They signed Rob Pelinka to a 3-year contract extension.
That's right.
And then they got Dennis Schroeder at the minimum in September. Those were the only big things that we missed before the season, I believe. So I'm just laughing because the way we have it set up on screen, I didn't see, like, it said remains unsigned and then it was cut off for me. And so as you're introing it, I'm scrolling down and I'm just laughing because it was just perfect timing.
That's an amazing list of names. That team is the guys that
none
were
of whom,
unsigned
by the
at
way,
this time last year would be
last season, right?
What's that?
None of those guys ended up on teams last season, right?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. No, they didn't. But that team would be a playoff team easy maybe a top 4 seed in like 2012.
Yeah, that'd be a great team. So yeah, as you mentioned, I don't know that my impression changed. I think, let's frame it this way. Do any of these moves, and they could not have kept Malik Monk for the money he got that's the danger of, like, could they have gotten a team option on, like, his deal? Probably not when they negotiated the previous offseason. We can't ding them for that anyway. Do any of these moves in hindsight look a lot better? The one that stands out is, like, I guess I'm more comfortable with the Rob Pelinka extension. I remember being, I don't want to say irate because I'm not that emotionally invested in the Lakers, but I was just like, what has he proven to you to warrant this?
He's just the every other, well, this is oversimplifying things, but he's responsible for some of the worst off seasons I can remember. And then also just some rabbit out of the hat stuff, like the way that they remade this roster, midstream this past season. So, like, I think just if you're looking at the offseason moves here, you couldn't do anything about the Westbrook picking up his player option. Like, you're just stuck with that. The mistake there is having him in the first place. And we've talked about that trade, from a couple of years ago to no end. I think some of the stuff looks good. Like, the Lonnie Walker won him a playoff game. And that's worth the minimum. Nothing else was really awful. I just think it's hard for me to sort of not factor in how much better this team got during the year through the trades they made and just look at this offseason in isolation. What I guess I'm saying ultimately is, like, I don't see a huge number of reasons to change the grade. It probably has to come up, though, if it does anything.
The LeBron extension is fine, although I still get a laugh. Like, remember the reporting of the Mavs were trying to trade for LeBron? It was just like, he can't even legally be traded. What are we doing here?
That was fun.
That had nothing to do with the grade, but fun aside, or not so fun aside, whatever, however you consider it. I will say another move that I think looks better, and I'm not super in tune with this guy, but because I did the Lakers Look Ahead podcast recently, I did a little bit more of a dive into him. I really like Max Christie's shot and his size. In my head, I was like, well, they can't really get away with playing him at the 3 defensively, but he would be potentially just what they need. I talked with Jabari Davis. This might be coming out before that. Apparently he grew like 2 inches.
It's always
fun.
So,
like, if he can now play the 3 defensively and you have that shot, like, just getting him on that cost-controlled contract for 2 years ends up being big. What I can't reconcile is, and I know they were better after their 2-10 start, but their season did not, like, functionally turn around. They didn't have, like, that guiding principle to me until the Russell Westbrook trade. That was something that very obviously needed to be done. I'm not going to penalize them more for not getting it done. And this isn't on, by the way, it's not on Russ. It was like, he was part of the problem if he wasn't willing to sacrifice. He did come off the bench last year, but, like, this is on the Lakers in the front office more than anyone else.
What about the way Russell Westbrook operated was a surprise at any point? Like, what Russell Westbrook is when you trade for him.
Honestly, I felt bad for him by the end of it, unless he was really being a malcontent behind the scenes that we don't know about. We haven't really, but so that's why I'm reluctant to bring it up anymore. So we gave them, what was I at? So we were both in the
You're a D plus. I'm a D minus. I'm going to come up to a D plus. That's how I'm just knee jerk reaction.
I'm going to have to come up then to be consistent. I'm going to give them a C minus. Like, that's just like, and like the Max Christie one isn't definitive. I'm just more intrigued with him. The Lonnie Walker signing worked out. We went through the whole spiel of, like, Thomas Bryant and Anthony Davis hating to play center, and then Thomas Bryant ends up requesting a trade. Yeah. Are we seeing the same song again with Christian Wood a little bit this year? I think Christian Wood's a better flyer, but
yeah.
So a C minus, and that might even be just like, I feel like I probably could have stuck with the Pelinka extension. That's not fair. That looks a lot better. Basically every move, not every move, but his body of work since the Russell Westbrook trade itself has not been bad.
Yeah. And I guess we're getting kind of far afield now, but like you might excuse the original Russell Westbrook acquisition as like pressure from LeBron and AD, and you're beholden to your best players. Certainly if one of them is LeBron, like can we like maybe take some of the blame off of Pelinka? Is that
No,
fair?
because when it comes to, if it's signing, Thanasis Antetokounmpo to keep
Mhm.
your superstar happy, it's one thing. The job of a GM is to do what's best for the actual team.
Yeah.
And if you're consolidating into someone who needs to be a big part of your rotation is a terrible fit, that's why these lead executives exist, is that they're supposed to be making
You're the
these smart
gatekeeper
basketball
on these
decisions.
bad. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like I've never I've never been more sure I was gonna be right than I was about saying that trade is so bad
There,
for the Lakers.
there was almost no one who thought it was going to be good, which is just, that's very rare where there's
Right.
like a universal consensus on how bad a trade
Yeah.
is.
It's one that you seemed so obviously bad at the time that I don't know if you operate this way, but then I start to question myself. Like there must be some like the people making these decisions are smart and like know things that I don't. There must be something. And there was nothing. It was just exactly what it seemed like at the time. All right, we've improved the Lakers grade. Phoenix Suns.
This,
This
this
is
is me, right? Or you want to go through them? You're free
did
to.
I do? Oh yeah, go ahead. You do it.
So the Suns matched, I should say, DeAndre Ayton's 4-year, $133 million offer sheet from Indiana. They signed Devin Booker to a 4-year, $224.2 million extension. It had a trade kicker, but has no player option. So he's just under lock and key through his age 30 season. They signed Monty Williams to a multi-year contract extension. They signed Damian Lee, Josh Okogie. They re-signed Ish Wainwright to a 2-way deal. Dwayne Washington Jr. was on a 2-way deal. They got Jock Landale, who ended up playing a pretty big role for them for cash. They've lost JaVale McGee, Frank Kaminsky, Aaron Holiday, and this is a big one, Grant. So just let me know how much you want to ratchet their grade down. They never brought back Alfred Payton either.
Unacceptable.
I gave them a B plus. You gave them a B minus. Have any of your thoughts changed about their offseason coming out of that?
When was the sale? When did Sarver sell? Was that during the year?
Yeah, that was during the season.
Okay, because that would have been a pretty big plus.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
that was during the season.
So as you were going through this, pretty much everything is defensible.
Shit! I was wrong. September 21st. What is time?
So that wasn't accounted for when we
we recorded these on August 22nd of last year.
But that does count.
Our listeners, I hope you appreciate our just thorough documentation. Right? I have the date of when this is accurate by.
But that does count towards the offseason, right? So, I mean.
But, like, how do you grade? Like, who are you grading there? Like, it's good for the organization, but, like, are we.
That's
shout out
true.
Robert Sarver for getting richer after being a fuck shit for his entire life.
Well, it's like it was good for the organization for several reasons, not the least of which is Matt Ishbia just came in and, like, started throwing money around, like, no owner has in a really long time. But yeah, I guess I don't know what to do with that. The Ayton thing, they matched immediately. It seems like the way that whole thing happened, which was almost, like a caricature of like, go get a deal, let's let the market dictate what you're worth. And then we'll pay that. We're not going to pay a penny more. That seems like it wasn't handled great, but then now that we know, Ayton and Monty Williams didn't see eye to eye, which I guess we knew then. But are you just not going to match? I guess if you think the Ayton deal wasn't good or a bad decision, would it have been worse to just let the Pacers sign him and just not match?
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I think we're divorcing ourselves from reality a little. Not us, but if you think that letting him walk for nothing or that he sucks as a player, like that's too far afield for me. Mm-hmm. I will say, it feels like that was a predictable implosive situation though, because it seemed to be common knowledge just how tense everything was between Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton. And it's kind of just, I mean, it's just hysterical that they both got like new contracts in the same summer. And so could you have handled that any better? I think you definitely could have handled it. Restricted free agency sucks for players. It's okay. You want the max, like go out and get it. So I understand it from that, but like, if you knew this relationship was that fragile and you knew that Indy was trying to negotiate a trade with you before they even gave him the max offer sheet, it felt like Phoenix can could have and should have been more proactive there? And could they have addressed this in any way? With that said, I don't know how much of it I place on Monty, because there was clearly, and the timeline guys have talked about, the timeline podcast guys who are great have talked about this. There's a massive disconnect at points between DeAndre Ayton and the rest of the team.
Right.
It's like, how much are you laying at the feet of Monty Williams? And the fact that you then had to move on from Monty Williams, and there's still all these kind of just, I don't want to say DeAndre Ayton rumors, they're more like theories. And one of the biggest things that Frank Vogel's been tasked with since being hired is repairing the relationship there. You definitely should have been more proactive to protect that. But if you didn't view him as this centerpiece or part of your cap slot core, then you should have been more proactive in maybe trying to, like, why didn't you trade him to Indy, who would have given you Miles Turner and maybe something else for it? So I don't know what that does to the grade. Like, I do think, like, to get away from the Ayton stuff, like the Okogie signing ended up working out a lot better than I would have expected, quite frankly. I don't know how I viewed it back then. So like that's kind of a notch under their belt. So like, but does that cancel out? Like, but did the DeAndre Ayton situation get any worse? Like, he got worse, so the deal looks worse. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think we're sort of both kind of brushing up against the idea that, like, it's not a good reflection of the organization's ability to sort of look down the road / manage, situations that the Ayton deal came to this point, because move him earlier, just do something before you're put to the decision of, like, we don't really like this guy, but we're going to pay him $130 million because it's an asset preservation decision, which is like, we've defended a lot of teams for, just preserve the asset. You can trade this is a big salary slot for a team that now, if they are going to change anything this year, Ayton's massively important to the Suns as title contenders this season, but he's also the guy that you're going to move if you just don't like what you got, or you do end up needing more depth. Like, I guess I don't know. I don't know what else you would have wanted them to do, like, in the moment, like all the way that all the lead up to the Ayton matching, we can criticize, but at the second that Indy signs him to that offer sheet, like, you had two choices, and I think the Suns made the right one, even though it's an imperfect choice, like, because the alternative is he leaves and you have nothing there.
Is this too galaxy brain though? Because we know that they were involved in the Sabonis talks. And so Ayton must have been a centerpiece of that. And they kind of did see this coming down the road. And then, I'm not saying they should have traded for Sabonis, but, like, you knew this was, because it's so hard to move them when they reach free agency, but Indy was still clearly interested in making some sort of deal there. But what I will say, I think I'm going to leave their grade the same, because the Josh Okogie deal looked a lot better. The Landale transaction ended up working out a lot better for them. And look, Devin Booker improved enough defensively last year. And, like, the fact that he's still improving there, you look at his contract, and I know the numbers, like, kind of take you aback. There's a chance that you have this guy through his age 30 season, and during that time, he is never going to make 35% of the salary cap.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Right. Because he's worth that. He would get that, if he could now. Like,
Devin Booker is, we're not ranking players, he is one of the guys that's in the conversation for the 10 best players in the NBA.
For sure. Yeah. If you're looking at the Suns offseason from, like, a let's work big to small perspective, you do the Devin Booker deal, you do 10 times out of 10. Like, that's just, there's no question that was
true then. It's just, you look back now at what he did and, like, what's going on with the cap. It's like, wow.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. I forgot that Monty Williams got an extension. But then ownership changes. So, like, who knows? I think I'm going to go, was I a B-?
Yeah. I'm sticking with do I bring them down to a B? I'm just going to stick with a B+, because I don't know how realistic it was to expect them to have given up on Ayton, like, before the offseason.
Yeah, I hate to do the same thing, but I'll just leave it where it was, which is B- again, because I'm not looking at any of these moves and seeing, like, well, that was a clear mistake, or I wouldn't have done that. I just, not a lot changes for me. That takes us to the last team in the Pacific Division, which is the Sacramento Kings. This is going to be very interesting. I totally forgot what I gave them. Ooh. All right. I just looked at it. Okay. Signed Mike Brown to a 4-year deal to be the new head coach. Drafted Keegan Murray at number 4. Those are already two moves I'm sure I panned a year ago. Traded Jaden Hardy, who's number 37, to the Mavs for 2 seconds. Got Kevin Huerter from the Hawks for Mo Harkless, Justin Holiday, a 2024 first with lotto protection, top 12 protection in 25, top 10 in 26, becomes his 26 second. Trey Lyles came back, picked up his player option, got Malik Monk for 2 years and $19.4 million. What else was of consequence here? Not a whole lot. Damian Jones left. Dante DiVincenzo left. Jeremy Lamb, Josh Jackson were unsigned at the time. I killed this one. I by which I mean I was super mean.
Before you reveal your grade here, because this had to be like this was like one of our biggest discrepancies of all time. I think we need to play a little something on Grant's behalf. This is how he's going to introduce
Tracy. It's Phil.
Phil, where the hell are you guys? I'm freaking out.
Yeah, listen. We fucked up.
About.
You don't have to say we, it was I. You like the offseason.
Well, no, I fucked up too.
No,
the grade has to come up from there.
Well, of course, but I gave him a D. You gave him a B minus.
Yeah, that was way too low. I'm gonna have to. I let that clip play too long. Hopefully, I'll remember to cut it up and post just the we fucked up part. I think we both fucked up here, but
well, me worse. Can I give you I remember my rationale. I think. I didn't like the Mike Brown hiring, although I think it probably would concede that's about as good as you were going to do. I think I really wanted Jaden Ivey instead of Keegan Murray because I thought Ivey had star upside. Murray was just flat out better than Ivey. I can't imagine I knew what Jaden Hardy was going to become, so I'm not going to kill them for trading that pick. I bet you if we listen back to this, I would have criticized them for adding a bunch of offensive players to a team that had no defense at all. Where I was very, very, very wrong was that the offense was not going to be good enough to offset how shitty the defense was going to be. And clearly the offense, which I don't know if it ended up this way, but had the highest, not era adjusted offensive rating of all time, was good enough. So I was very wrong about the Kings offseason.
Yeah, and we did not miss any. The bones of their offseason was done by the time we recorded. I forgot to mention that. Look, the Mike Brown signing, I was probably too low on. Like, I was probably okay with it. I'm with you on Keegan Murray. I probably wanted them to go elsewhere. I didn't hammer it, but I was uncomfortable with the Kevin Huerter trade.
Yeah.
So I was like, why are the Kings trading first round picks for non-stars? Like, you can't do that. I didn't really know what to make of the Malik Monk signing. He was so good with the Lakers. I was probably comfortable with it. I don't think I lampooned it. I was with you in the sense like, oh, they really geared towards offense. It ended up working out for them.
Yep.
I don't know how you give them. I'm going up to an A. How do you?
I think you have to.
What did they miss on? Nothing.
Right. I think you have to go up. I'll go with you. I'll go up to an A. Just like there's not anything on here that there aren't any mistakes. There's no mistakes on here. I guess like Dante DiVincenzo could have helped, but like it seemed like he was not happy there and was kind of weirdly minimized. I think he maybe even alluded to the fact that he was just, not happy with how they handled him because it may have cost him some money by costing him starter criteria in free agency. There are no misses here. The theory of this offseason was just like, let's score all the points. Totally worked out. The one thing I will say is maybe should you have figured out the Richaun Holmes situation sooner so you didn't have to give up a first round pick to get rid of him? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe teams looking at it with, there's 3 guaranteed years left on his deal. Maybe that still would have been prohibited, but it's an A. So B- to an A is a huge jump. Going from a D to an A is a I feel like they earned it. Like what they had the best season in like 2 decades of their franchise's history. And it was largely because of the moves they made. I guess you'd have to go back to last season and the Sabonis trade, although like we don't need to relitigate Halliburton versus Sabonis. But yeah, like they had a phenomenal season, and it was you can't have a D in the offseason grade if you end up doing that well. That would bring us to the Denver Nuggets, who's apparently we did the Northwest Division earlier. I don't know how I ordered this doc when we were doing this. I don't know if I was like stoned or something, but anyway, the Denver Nuggets. So they had a busy offseason. They signed Nikola Jokic to a 5-year, $270 million extension. It's a player option in the final season when he'll be age 32. Jeff Green picked up his player option. They traded JaMychal Green and a top 5 2027 first round pick. That immediately turns into a second if it doesn't convey for number 30.
which they drafted Peyton Watson. They got a 2023 second rounder and a 2024 second rounder out of that. They created a TPE as well. They used more than half of that. They drafted Christian Braun at number 21. I guarantee you, neither of us were like, oh, wow, that was a home run. They got the KCP and Ish Smith for Will Barton and Monte Morris. They created a $9.2 million TPA as part of that. They then signed KCP to a 2-year, $30 million extension. He does have a player option, though, next summer. They signed Colin Gillespie to a 2-way contract. And that should be – oh, no, they signed Bruce Brown. How is this so far at the bottom? They signed Bruce Brown, one of our favorite deals of the offseason at the time, to a 2-year, $13.3 million deal. He, of course, left because he had a player option. They signed DeAndre Jordan seconds after free agency started for some reason. They signed Vlacho Chanchar to a 3-year, $6.8 million deal. He's still on the team, but did tear his ACL. They promoted Calvin Booth after Tim Connelly left for Minnesota as well. Again, a very, very busy offseason. No super notable exits. Bryn Forbes left, Austin Rivers left, and DeMarcus Cousins didn't sign with anybody. I'm interested to see how we graded this. I'm looking at it. I gave them a B. You gave them an A-. What were the misses? Like, how do I don't want to shorten this discussion, but I have to go to an A+. Like, how do I?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I was going to leave mine, or I was going to go to an A, but if A+ is on the table, I think we probably got to do that because, I mean, just like even the JaMychal Green trade, which relative to some of the other stuff on this list is pretty inconsequential. Like, you got Peyton Watson, who might really matter this year already.
Oh, he does.
You know? Like,
yeah,
he's going to play a huge role theoretically, or he almost has to. And then I think, thinking back on this, like the KCP trade, I loved from the moment it happened. I just think that like he's a fucking starter on a championship team, like often. Like that's what he that's what he does. And you got him for a point guard in Morris who just doesn't matter. He's good. Monte Morris is a good player, but you have Jokic. Like that's who's going to handle the ball. We don't need it was a perfect trade. And then like to extend him and then to get Bruce Brown. I mean, yeah, let's go A+ across the board. They won the title pretty easily. Like there's nowhere else to go here.
And because I'm so high on Peyton Watson, I would normally just still be uncomfortable with that's all you got by giving up a 2027 first, but I'm really high on Peyton Watson now. And I wasn't at the time. Like I just don't have enough information on those guys. We did, to our credit, we named Bruce Brown, I think was our favorite contract of the summer. And that ended up being pretty spot on. It was for different reasons than I think it ended up being, though, because I didn't see them using him so differently as Brooklyn did. Like there were elements of it, but like he ran a lot of backup playmaker stuff. And I think part of my B was I liked the KCP trade. There were some people that were like, well, it was still a salary dump. But I was like, yeah, but it's a salary. Like they cut costs and it made sense.
They got the best player in the deal.
And I honestly thought it was a win-win for both teams. Right. I did not have enough information on Will Barton. I do remember being concerned that, okay, you traded away Monte Morris and Jamal Murray's coming off that ACL injury and missing the entire season. Did you really compromise your bench? And you know what? The bench was not great, but it didn't fucking matter. And because when it mattered most, this team was the two additions that they picked up over the offseason. Bruce Brown and KCP played major roles. They were top 6 players on the fucking champion.
And Christian Braun was playing major minutes. Yeah. Like, I mean, not major minutes, but he mattered in the playoffs.
I guarantee you that might have even been we just named it and we didn't even mention him after that when we were giving out grades. There's like Christian Braun, which is the tough part about grades, like, cause you haven't seen him in the NBA yet. So honestly, if we were giving out A+++s, this would be the team.
You'd sort of have to. Like the moves they made. I mean, Jokic is the reason they won the title, and getting healthy. But the moves they made, they don't win it if you don't have KCP or you don't have Brown. And I mean, talking about Bruce Brown and then Christian Braun again, like mattered in the most important games as a rookie. That's ridiculous. At the 21st pick, I think it was 20. Ridiculous.
I honestly, I can't believe I gave him a B.
Yeah, they were your title pick.
By the way, fun. Since we're on the Nuggets, we haven't talked about them in a while. Being right about the I'll call it an offbeat title pick because I don't think nationally many people picked the Nuggets to win the title. It wasn't very people are still they're more likely to call me out about something I said about I don't like Kawhi Leonard 8 years ago and was wrong about than, oh wow, someone picked the Nuggets to win the title. It's being right has no value.
No, well, you know what? You and Kevin Durant have a lot in common because great success did not bring you the joy that you thought it would. And so now you're going to have to move to another podcast and have more takes so you can just chase that joy. Because this didn't give it to you.
Yeah,
sorry.
I would. I'd be refreshing your email daily at this point for that announcement.
All right. Let's really pivot to, we were both pretty good on the Nuggets. We were not good on the next team, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Here we go. Hired Tim Connelly as president of basketball operations, late of the Denver Nuggets. Signed Karl-Anthony Towns to a 4-year, $224 million extension. Same as Booker, basically, right? I think it's similar term. I don't want to get to the big one here. Traded Jake LaRavia for Walker Kessler and Ty Washington. I don't know where this is all going. Walker Kessler obviously goes somewhere else pretty soon, and that's going to be part of a bad look. Here, let's talk about it. Acquired Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Balmero, the aforementioned Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, a 23 first, a 25 first, a 26 swap, a 27 first, a 29 first, which has top 5 protection, something you could not say about any of those other firsts because they're all unprotected. Signed Kyle. Hold on. Good one. Signed Kyle Anderson to a 2-year, $18 million deal. Signed Taurean Prince, 2 years, 14.6, 23-24 non-guaranteed. He's already gone. Signed Bryn Forbes, Austin Rivers to minimums. I mean, that's enough. Picked up Naz Reid's option, who is now playing a bigger role. Josh Okogie left. Jake Layman unsigned and not in the league. Okay.
Did we miss? I don't think we missed anything. I think we got all. All that stuff was done.
We got the big stuff, obviously.
But I do think. Look, I don't want to have to repeat necessarily everything, but this is the one where it's pertinent.
Yeah, listen.
Again.
We fucked up.
Much better edit. I had this offseason forever to be known as the offseason of the Rudy Gobert trade as a B. You had it as a B+. I take a tiny amount of solace in being slightly less wrong about this than you were. You remember... I remember exactly how I defended the Gobert trade. Do you remember your thinking on it?
Yeah, I thought that they were just going to be regular season monsters and there might be questions in the playoffs, and injuries contributed to some of the disconnect, but it just never, they had to reorient their team in the middle of the year to make it work with the Mike Conley trade. And even then it wasn't like sunshine and daisies.
Man, I had those same thoughts, and I definitely remember writing, I don't know if we talked about it, but in defense of if one were to make an argument in defense of the Gobert trade, one would say, or would have said a year ago, that's a ton to give up. Those picks, that's crazy. They're all unprotected. Minnesota does not tend to keep its best players. So the upside of those picks are terrifying. But Rudy Gobert is, what is he, a 3-time all defensive player of the year, and is just a lock to make your defense top 5. So if this doesn't work, if the Towns Gobert pairing doesn't work, you're going to be able to, in a year or two, probably just flip Gobert for you get 2 of those first back, maybe, right? That was my thinking. And now it's just how many more firsts would you have to give up to get rid of him? I mean, I could not have been more wrong about sort of the how do we bail out of this? Thinking that there was a clean way to sort of undo this if it didn't work. And that was dead wrong. There is, the Gobert contract, I think, is probably now regarded as one of the most difficult to trade in the league. Certainly not one you get positive value for, I don't think. That's really what this offseason comes down to, right? The Towns extension, I guess you could say, is maybe not great either, but the Gobert trade, we were just wrong on. That's all there is to it.
I'm trying to think. The only thing that's sparing them from an F, and I'm wondering if it's enough to offset it, is Kyle Anderson and Taurean Prince were good moves. And I know they really like Wendell Moore. We have not seen enough of him. I'm kind of intrigued by Josh Minot, but we haven't seen anything from him. So is it enough to be can we go D- instead of an F?
That's the question. So are you persuaded at all by the fact that we really did not get even a half season's worth of information on how how the Wolves' best lineup might work with the, Towns, Gobert, Edwards, McDaniels, Conley.
And also, how much does it matter that were they the hardest opponent in the West that the Nuggets faced?
I mean,
this year?
maybe. So I think that gets us out of having to go from the B range to the F range, because
Yeah.
there is still we're still not 100% sure that this is just never going to get off the ground. But the first year was bad. And because of Gobert's age, like, it stands to reason that the subsequent years may not be any better. So I'm going to go, I started at a B. I'll take it down 2 full grades to a D. I'll just go down to a D.
I'm going to go D plus, just because, as you kind of outlined, like there's still a little hope. And so the fact that they haven't completely neutered hope, like we have to at least acknowledge that.
That's the tagline for the Wolves section of this is there's still a little hope. And you have to say it.
I mean, look, maybe there's like, if they just stay healthy, and it's not like, I know Karl-Anthony Towns been banged up before and Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley are getting older, but it's not like they're dealing with guys who are chronically absent for the most part. And so they could just get better help. This team, you're definitely gonna need to double check me on, because they always do so much shit. I'm just wondering, like, what did we miss with the Oklahoma City Thunder? So they they always do so much stuff. They drafted Chet Holmgren at number 2. He did not play, obviously. Derek Favors had picked up his player option. They eventually get rid of him. They acquired JaMychal Green, who they bought out, and that Denver 2027 top 5 protected first round pick. It was top 5 protected first round pick, I guess, through 29. Did I had it as after one, whatever. So they have Denver's top 5 protected first round pick. They gave up number 30 for that. They drafted Jalen Williams at number 12. They acquired Ousmane Dieng from the Knicks for Denver's 2023 first round pick, Detroit's 2023 first, which is still out there. It's protected through 2027. And then Washington's 2023 first round pick, that's protected through 2026. It gets down to top 8 protection. If anyone cares, the Detroit pick will get all the way down to top, I think, 9 protection. They also then drafted big Jalen Williams at number 34. They declined Lou Dort's team option and then signed him to a 5-year, $82.5 million deal, only the first 4 years of which basically were guaranteed, so $64.8 million. They signed Kenrich Williams to a 4-year, $27.2 million extension, team option on that final season. They signed Mike Muscala to a 2-year, $7 million deal after declining his team option. And the only notable exit I have down at the time was Isaiah Roby. And then, of course, Derek Favors eventually wasn't on this team. Did I miss anything?
Just as we missed him when we did the Sixers, missed him leaving, Isaiah Joe signed on October 16th. So
we didn't miss it in the grades. So
we did not miss it in the grades. That's the only other consequential transaction here that we did not have.
What do you, I mean, you're probably looking. So I was going to ask, what do you think that you gave them? We both gave them A's.
I am looking, and I was not surprised by that because I remember being really high on them. And then this is like, I mean, Dan, anytime you can draft a franchise-altering rookie and then also draft Chet Holmgren, that's a pretty good offseason. I think that's at least worth staying at an A, no matter what else we talk about here.
It's an A plus. Like,
yeah,
we
like,
gave
what's
them
wrong
A
with this offseason? There's nothing wrong with it. It's great.
No, I feel like this very rarely happens where we viewed it as a perfect offseason, essentially, and it somehow exceeded expectations because you got this potential cornerstone at number 12.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I guess Holmgren missing the season, someone could say, well, I mean, shouldn't that knock the grade down? I mean,
why? They were better.
That's the thing. I don't feel any worse about his long-term potential. If anything, he was a guy that, because of his body type, probably benefited hugely from just like a redshirt season before he's going to come in, he's going to start, he's going to be awesome. And the team it's loaded. This is a great offseason. I have no notes at all.
That we don't need to, there's nothing to quibble about. Unless you think that Peyton Watson is going to be a star, but hey, you know what? Jalen Williams will kind of cushion that blow. There you go.
You can't say Dort got too much because it's really just a 4. So he's got 3 years left guaranteed for 20 a pop. That's fine.
He can be offensively damaging, but just like a team in a heartbeat will give you positive value for that contract.
Oh yeah, no question. He's still so. I mean, that I'm just looking for ways to criticize this, and I just am not seeing.
There's no. I mean,
27 million over 4 years.
The Denver thing, and they did more of that this offseason, was about we have so many picks and so many guys that we need to figure out a way to defer. Otherwise, we're going to end up cutting people. They're still going to have to cut people this year. Even that's kind of a home run, unless you think again that Peyton Watson's gonna hit. But you look at this team and it's, well, what was he gonna do here? Like, how are you supposed to find time for Peyton Watson anyway?
Yeah, what a good offseason. All right, that brings us to the Blazers, which I have. So starts with it's so interesting to look at all this now with all that's gone on with Portland since signed Joe Cronin to a 4-year deal. I guess basically remove the interim tag, right? Yeah. Subsequently acquired Jerami Grant. You're going to have to remind me what the hell happened here, because on the sheet we've got it as acquired Jerami Grant and number 46 for number 36 in the 22 draft. Milwaukee's 25 first and a 26 second rounder. So did they just take him into space? Is that what it was?
I think they had that CJ McCollum trade exception.
Okay.
That's what they took him into.
All right.
That Milwaukee first has gotten Milwaukee's first are just floating all over the league, because that was the 20. Was that the 23 Milwaukee first?
25.
Yeah, that one's floated. It's with the Knicks now. It was with the Pelicans at one point. That's making the rounds.
A Bucks 25 for. I mean, I guess that's a little too soon for the cratering post Giannis. Maybe not. Wild.
Our Discord members are clamoring for us to record a podcast about recent events, and Giannis did make the comments that he's not sure if his future's in Milwaukee, and so that doesn't matter for this season, I don't think.
Yeah.
But 2025, that pick is all of a sudden a lot more interesting.
Yeah. It's like when everyone talked about the Pelicans having the Lakers picks as just total lottery tickets, which they didn't turn out to be necessarily, but same idea. Okay.
This is not even related, but they have the Lakers pick this year, but they could just defer it.
Yeah.
And so that could mess with the Lakers and how they're going on the trade market. And also it's just, there's still that element of, are the Lakers a little combustible? Was the Western Conference Finals run? There's so many fascinating draft pick commitments around the league.
I know. It's Speaking of fascinating draft picks, the Blazers picked Shaedon Sharpe at number 7, who was just this mystery box of a obviously super athletic player that just nobody had any film on. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but he was the super high upside guy that we're not sure about because we haven't really seen him. That turned out well. Drafted Jabari Walker and signed him to one of those hinky-ish specials, 3 years, $4.8 million. Pretty good deal for a number 57 pick. They got Gary Payton II from the Warriors, 3 years, $26.2 million. Last year's a player option. Signed Anthony Simons, forgot about this, 4 years, $100. Signed Yusuf Nurkic to 4 years and $70, no options, which goes through his age 31 season. Signed Drew Eubanks to a veteran minimum deal. Signed, I forgot this too. Gave Dame that 2-year, $121 million extension. Not looking great. Takes him through his age 36 season, where he will make $63.2 million. Waived and stretched Eric Bledsoe's partial guarantee. Lost Joe Ingles to the Bucks. That's it, I think, unless we've had some late entries after we recorded this.
No, I'm not seeing anything that really stands out. Just a bunch of normal end of roster stuff. Oh wait, no, the Nas Little extension, 4 years, $28 million. Him just, I need the financial security. I'm injured all the time. Ended up being a smart decision by him. I think.
Yeah. So we were both high on this. Me slightly higher than you. I was a B plus. Have you looked at your grade? Do you know what you were?
A B.
B. The Dame extension, I think, and the Nurkic deal both look bad to me now. They must not have at the time. I imagine I defended the Dame thing as it's the going rate, and you're rewarding the guy who's been super loyal and will never ask for a trade in a million years. I made that argument.
You actually know, though, that running from the grind is great cardio. So,
why are we so? I mean, I think the Sharpe, I don't think we could have possibly known enough about Shaedon Sharpe to make that a big reason for the deal. I guess probably getting Jerami Grant for a trade exception probably stands out as a good move, except they just have now overpaid him, but we're not factoring that in.
And I think at that time, that Milwaukee pick did not look as juicy as it was now, the back end protection on it. Because the Pelicans have it, if it falls, I think 1 to 4, and then it's 5 to 30 goes to the Knicks now. Mm-hmm. I believe that's the protection on it. I don't you can't know it was just the first round pick for Jerami Grant. We thought they were a win now team. I think the Simons contract actually looks better to me.
Yeah.
I mean, just because look at what, he was probably the best of Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole, RJ Barrett, that sort of click last year. Maybe Tyler Hero was better.
Maybe. And I always lump Maxey in there, but then he doesn't have his deal yet. So, man, I think
What is
I mean,
so the pivot point? I don't think either of us liked the use of Nurkic deal at the time, by the way. He's
No.
fine, but I just thought that was too much for the going rate. The Dame extension is do you criticize the organization for that? Or is that more of a Dame thing because the reports say he pushed for it? Is it just a collective whiff? I don't know how to view it.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. And it must, there's no way we made these grades without that being a significant factor. So that suggests that we couldn't have been that low on it at the time. This is why we regrade. It's like now it looks really bad because
do you know it looked really bad too? And I know you mentioned him, but did you mention it was really bad? Gary Payton the second stuff.
Yeah, just wasn't healthy, and they just couldn't help him. I'm sure that I made the case that like, oh, this guy is the perfect fit alongside, Simons and Lillard because he's going to guard whoever they can't, and he's going to be defensively disruptive. And for the first time, Portland's going to like make opponents feel them on defense. But he was basically a zero for them. So yeah, that hurts. I'm going to go, I'm ready to regrade, Dan. I'm going to go down to a C plus because I think Sharp looks really good now.
Yeah, so that definitely looks better. I do have a question for you about the Dame extension before I figure out mine. Would he have been more valuable if he didn't sign the extension as a trade piece that only wanted to go to one team? Where it's like, would teams be more willing to give up something because the deal isn't as long-term, or would they view it as a higher risk because, he only has 2 years left on his deal rather than 4. So we're not even going to get involved here. And maybe that would even give Miami cause to lowball them further since he's closer to free. I honestly don't know where I land on it. That's why I was curious your thoughts.
I think if the question is, does that extension make Lillard from an acquiring team's perspective more or less palatable? I think it makes it less palatable. And I think because all you hear about teams, you can't discuss a Lillard trade without mentioning he's going to be making $63 million when he's 36. Like, you're on the hook for that. That's like, I think that's a massive hindrance to acquiring Dame. So I think that made it harder. It's not the same as like you're trading for a 27-year-old guy that's got 4 years left. And like, that's a benefit as opposed to if he's got a year or two. When you're up in the age range that Dame is, a longer deal is like, I think is a negative generally, with some exceptions, like, maybe he costs less to acquire because he might leave and that's priced in. But for this specific case, I think that extension made it much more difficult for a team to justify giving up a lot to get him.
So you were C plus. I'll go down to a C just because I think that offseason was at least further evidence, kind of like how what they did or didn't do around the trade deadline in the middle of the season. If you knew you were operating on that much of the precipice of a rebuild or having to overhaul your direction, what you did last offseason does not show you had a good feel for that uncertainty.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Which our last team in this division is the Utah Jazz, who, boy, they have you were going to have to quadruple check this. Quinn Snyder resigned. They then signed Will Hardy to a 5-year deal. Grant, why did they do that? 5-year deal. Why did they do that? Traded.
You're doing the finger. It's in the Windhorse fingers for anyone that's not watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, I should have had that meme queued up. But so they traded Royce O'Neal to the Nets for a 2023 first-round pick, least favorable of Houston, Brooklyn, Philly. They then created an $8.8 million TPE that they used on Leandro Bolmaro and Jared Vanderbilt in the Rudy Gobert trade. Speaking of which, they traded Rudy Gobert to the Wolves for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Bolmaro, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, unprotected picks in 2023, 2025, 2027, a top 5 protected pick in 2029, and then they have unprotected swaps in 2026, and none in 2024. There's no swap this year. Kudos to the Timberwolves. A nice piece of business right there for them. And that is notable exits. Daniel House left. They waived Juan and Gomez. Hassan Whiteside did not sign with anybody. Eric Pascal left. Did we miss anything that happened after that?
Yeah.
The Donovan Mitchell trade. This was wow. Great.
Couple little somethings. Donovan Mitchell for sure. Bojan Bogdanovic trade also. So the firsts are just pouring into the Jazz after we graded.
Yeah, they were, and they have another it was basically the same setup. They got unprotected first from, I mean, they got Lauri Markkanen as part of the Donovan Mitchell trade too. I can't believe I just like forgot about the Donovan Mitchell trade for a second. That's just, man, just absolutely wild offseason. They signed Colin Sexton as part of that deal, 4 years and $70.1 million was part of the sign and trade. They also got Lauri Markkanen, as we mentioned, Ochai Agbaji, 2025 unprotected first, 2027 unprotected first, 2029 unprotected first, swap rights in 2026 and 2028. They also, the other thing we forgot, they traded Taylor Horton Tucker, or no, they traded for Taylor Horton Tucker for Patrick Beverley, basically. I now think that's it. I think we've covered it.
Kelly Olynyk comes on as part of the Bogdanovic trade. I think you mentioned Kessler. Did we mention Ochai Agbaji was part of the?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
They were just a mess because I'm sure the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors were definitely in the ether in August, but we were probably just like, hey, we have to do this. So we know, what they gave him. I gave him an A-, you gave him an A. Give me the logic that prevents us from giving them an A+. I'm searching for it.
The only, we have to do it. We have to go A+. The only logic I think that I remember missing on was this team is going to be so bad they're going to have the inside track for Wembanyama. And that didn't come to pass. I imagine that was priced into this teardown, is like you're tearing down at the exact. Although I don't think we'd had the showcase games of the Wembanyama scoot, like the doubleheader that we got. I forget when that happened, but it was probably after this. So maybe at the time it wasn't just a dead certainty that Wembanyama was going to be generational and someone you should tank for. But I do remember thinking, like, this is a team poised to lose 1 million games and have the most ping pong balls, which was not the case. And it didn't matter because this is still an A+. And I think this is an even better offseason than the Thunder because you had to like swing a bunch of deals to do it.
I do think what's interesting, and it's not going to impact their grade for me at all, is you do get into the conversation of, well, what happens after this season? You're going to start talking about Lauri Markkanen's next contract. And if your own picks really aren't going to be super high end, you need then these picks from other teams that you shorted to be high end. My counterpoint to my own point would be they don't. They have so many picks that the way that they can improve doesn't necessarily have to be through the draft. They can go out and make a trade, or you can at least say, hey, we can take swings if we're getting these mid-first rounders. And I also like this year, okay, they don't end up with the highest pick, but I love Taylor Hendricks. And so like you didn't get Wembanyama, and you would rather, look, Lauri Markkanen had a great year. You would rather have Victor Wembanyama for sure. Yeah. But it was a great off. Like if you're going to tear it down, this is just, and Danny Ainge reset the star trade market for a minute to where you didn't see other players net that. I even think the DeJounte Murray stuff, I don't know if that was before this though, wasn't it?
I think so. It was talked about in concert with it though, as like, holy shit, look at these packages teams are getting for players.
I just didn't even think like you might have overpaid for DeJounte Murray, but it wasn't like the level of Rudy Gobert overpay there in assets. But he reset the trade market to the point that I don't think teams understand how to trade their stars now because other teams are not going to give up what Danny Ainge got.
Yeah, Danny Ainge swung 2 deals. Certainly the Gobert deal is in its own stratosphere, but swung 2 huge deals for packages that like basically scared everyone. So like it's, it's not like he reset the market. It's he like cranked up the expectation on a star player trade to levels that we're just not going to hit again. Like this is a one-off season thing. I don't think, because even the Durant deal or the Beal deal, you've got all these picks in there, but it's not the same. It's not the same level of stuff because like Markkanen is not a throw-in. Like he's an all-star. So like
even Colin Sexton is not just your typical salary matching player.
No,
either.
Yeah. No, great. I mean, ridiculous. Phenomenal offseason. Where does that take us now?
Dallas Mavericks. Do you have them pulled up or do you need me to do it?
Yep, I got it. I'm going to go back to the top here. I lied to you. I don't have it pulled up, but I'm going to get there, Dan. You're just going to have to edit around this dead air.
I'm just going to timestamp that we're on to the Dallas Mavericks. That's
go ahead if you have it pulled up. I can't find it. Okay. Now I got it. All right. You don't go. Acquired Christian Wood for Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, Boban Marjanovic, just a bunch of dead salary, and the number 26 pick basically is what the Christian Wood deal hinged on. Signed Theo Pinson to a 1-year deal. Got Jaden Hardy on a 3-year, $4.8 million deal. Signed JaVale McGee, 3 years, 4.8. I think it might be 14.8. I can't remember. The bulk of the mini MLE. I mean, really, this is the most significant thing. Jalen Brunson left, signed with the Knicks for 4 years, $104 million. I don't have anything else on our sheet from last year. Did I miss anything for Dallas?
They did extend Maxi Kleber in September, 3 years, $33 million. That Josh Green picked up his option. That's not, I mean, that just happens. It's good for them that he picked up his option, obviously. And yeah, that was the big stuff.
I'm gonna knock this grade down so far, Dan, because I'm just not seeing any positives here. Even just the Brunson deal alone. And
can you explain why you were more kind? I gave them a D-. You gave them a C- the first time around. What was? I appreciated the Christian Wood trade, but what were you just smitten with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably I thought the Wood deal, a late first rounder and basically dead money was a good swing to take on a guy that everyone agrees had tons of talent. But now we're on like stop 7 in his career. We know now that it's just like, although I've already sort of talked myself into him working out in LA, I'll be wrong again, probably. And then I guess I must not have thought the Brunson departure was as bad as it turned out to be. Really the issue with the Brunson thing is them not signing him to whatever that incredibly cheap deal, like the $50 million one that they could have. I don't know. I forget when, a year before.
Part of the grade should also be the spin of like, well, he didn't really give us an opportunity.
Yeah, right. This has got to go. I'm going to go down to an F. I was at a C-, so I'll go. I'm not going to go F-. I see. You want to take the floor because I see you've already given an F-.
Well, I mean, I was so low to begin with. Losing Jalen Brunson, regardless of how it happened, when you actually lost him, was it months before, a year before, whatever? You lost him, and he turned into an All-NBA caliber player with the Knicks, who had shitty ass spacing around him. And so imagine what happens when they actually put real spacing around him. It's like, imagine what Shai's going to do if OKC can open up the floor for him more consistently moving forward. And then the Christian Wood deal, which I actually liked, ends up being a complete disaster. And I will say the look of giving up a first round pick to get him is bad. I don't know who, like, are you that high on Wendell Moore or Blake Wesley or Nikola Jovic or Peyton Watson? Okay, sure. Andrew Nembhard would have been fun for this team with Jalen Brunson leaving. I will say that.
Yeah.
So I like, but it looks bad. What did they do? What did they do that was good last offseason? I guess Jaden Hardy at number 37. I mean, the JaVale McGee deal was probably the worst contract of the offseason.
Well, that one is like indicative of dysfunction too, right? Because it seems like he was promised a starting job, or at least it was made, promises maybe too strong, but he certainly thought he was going to start, and he just wasn't playing at all within like a few weeks. So just a huge miss, which like that wasn't going to be a good signing no matter what, but they really like turned it into
how are you not going F-? Is Jaden Hardy your most improved player pick?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We did give the Wizards an F-. But if that's
Wizards, here's a fun question. I mean, probably the Wizards had the worst offseason because I think it really handicap their future more because the Mavericks have Luka and the Wizards don't, and that's what it comes down to.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if the Wizards are the standard, I want my F- to mean something, and so I'm not going to give more than one. That's my reasoning. It has nothing to do with how bad the offseason was. It's just there's got to be one terrible worst one, and it's going to be Washington.
Well, with all due respect, you're a coward. So that's just where I land on that.
Fair.
The Houston Rockets are me.
Okay.
And they drafted Jabari Smith at number 3, drafted Tari Eason at number 17. We both loved him. Hey, look, they were on the other side of the Christian Wood trade.
They sure were.
I'm not going to go through the details because you just did. They acquired Ty Washington and Minnie's 2025, 2027 seconds for Wendell Moore at number 26. They signed Jason Tate to a 3-year, $22.1 million deal, team option on the final season, agreed to a buyout with John Wall. He gave them back about $6.5 million. And that's all the big stuff we have. They let Dennis Schroeder leave at that point. They did lose Trevelyan Queen, who was the MVP of the Brunson League, apparently. I have that in the notes. I don't know why I felt the need to put that there. Did anything else happen after that, after August 15th that I'm missing?
We are missing the Kevin Porter Jr. contract extension, which is sort of topical, depending on when this comes out. But that
And
was
we did, for anyone who wants to hear it, we did not ignore it. I recorded about a 10-minute intro on it. The allegations against him are terrible, and I have no patience for people who are saying that trading him is okay and it's part of the business. Why should they be penalized? They knew, maybe they didn't know that Kevin and I was this, but the contract doesn't suggest, it proves that they understood he was a wild card off the court, and you should not be able to, but one, they're not the victims here, and you should not be able to profit off of domestic violence. And I mean that for a team that would trade for him as well, because you could say, yeah, they're just going to waive him. They're still capitalizing. Why is Kevin Porter Jr. going to have any picks attached to him? Because he beat the shit out of his girlfriend, Kyra Gondrzik, and that opportunity wouldn't be there if the domestic violence incident didn't happen. They should absolutely be destroyed for this deal. I don't know if you saw, Grant, the piece that came out at Clutch Points. If even half of the information in that article is true, this extension is worth F infinite minuses on its own, and just absolutely abhorrent shit from the Houston Rockets. Just complete, total, it's not ignorance. They enabled this. And it's disgusting. It's heartbreaking. So we did cover it in a previous podcast, but just wanted to throw that there so people didn't think we were glossing over it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to do with it as like a transaction, because it's just difficult to separate.
I hate talking about it as a transaction. And so it has to be compartmentalized in the sense that it's going to detract from their grade, but it's not.
Yeah.
We're not grading this. You know what I mean? It's just,
I think, yeah, I don't like, yeah, I don't know what to do with it. It's basically, it's 3 non-guaranteed years after this upcoming one, right? And it's like 15 point something million. And whether that contract gets traded or not, I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. Like, so I guess we can just leave it aside and try to pivot to like the other moves.
Rockets get an F- as an organization. That's the more important. I don't want to grade it, but like that's what this is. If it's not, I don't even know what I gave them. I don't have their grade pulled up since we're doing these off the cuff, which has made it more fun, by the way. Not this topic specifically. Oh my God, this is okay.
Yeah, right. You're gonna have to figure out how to work
around. I honestly don't know how to reconcile it and don't want to offend anyone. But like, I honestly, if we're doing it through those terms, I like Jabari Smith Jr. Mm-hmm. I like Tari Eason. Did you even finish going through their transactions? I'm sorry. Please go.
No. You hit it. That was it. That was the only one we didn't get to.
I'm like, I mean. I honestly don't know what to do with this. It's not an incomplete. I mean, first of all, it deserves to go because of this. And just like, I don't know, the Jayshawn Tate extension, he was really banged up. I guess you did get rid of John Wall. I still really like Jabari Smith and Tari Eason, as we mentioned. I mean, the Christian Wood trade worked. We probably should have discussed this before we got. I don't know what to do with it. Like,
well, here, I'll tell you what we can just not discuss Porter, because I don't think he would have been a huge factor in our thinking on the overall team grade, or it wouldn't have been in mine, because I never really liked him that much as a player anyway. But so I suspect that, because I was higher than you. You're A-, I was an A. I gotta believe I saw the drafting of Jabari Smith Jr. at 3 as a huge win, because, and maybe it was all a smokescreen, like he was going to go first, I think most people thought, up until draft night. So I probably viewed that as a big value pick. He had a rough first season, and especially rough, like first, several months of his rookie season. I do think most people, and I would count myself among them, are pretty optimistic still about what kind of player he can become. I don't think he's a superstar. I think he's going to be a very good two-way player on good teams. We both love Tari Eason. I think we both loved him like from the jump, just because of the player type that he is. We have a type,
and it's Tari Eason. We have a type on this podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is him. But I still am kind of, I guess we must have liked getting out from under John Wall's contract. It's hard to still, looking back at this, figure out how we both got into the A range. I got to downgrade it significantly though, because Smith is not a franchise alterer and Eason's a nice player, but maybe a starter down the line, maybe like a bench energy guy. So I'm going to go and just forget Porter, I guess. I'm going to go down to just a C C plus, because I think getting out from under Wall, now that I think about it, is a pretty good move.
I'm actually pretty high on Jabari Smith Jr. Still don't think he has that upside. I'm going with an F because, and I am factoring Kevin Porter Jr. in the sense that even if you want to say stick to basketball, bro, in the piece of Clutch Points, they talk about how the reason Alperen Şengün wasn't playing as much was because they wanted to have a lob threat on the floor for Kevin Porter Jr. You tailored your team then entirely too much around this guy who you clearly didn't think or you weren't sure that he was going to be able to be a stable part of your team. That shows a really big disconnect, but maybe a D- because I like Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr. You're mentioning getting out of Wall, or I'll go D+, but I divorcing from the domestic violence allegations, if you were actually planning your team and your direction around Kevin Porter Jr. that tightly, why? Yeah. It's not even, I don't know how I felt about him as a player. I went on Salman Ali's podcast a few times over the past year, and I talked about he thought Kevin Porter Jr. was a better playmaker than I did. I just never saw the theory of what they were trying to turn him into. Doesn't mean I hate him as a player, but you're taking that player like that. That's like the Jazz planning their future around Jordan Clarkson, basically, is how I look at it. So that's like disturbing from a basketball perspective.
Yeah, sure.
So that was, hopefully we did navigate those waters too poorly.
Never been happier to move on to the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think I have, right? Yeah, we'll just say I have. Signed Tyus Jones, 2-year, $29 million deal. Signed Ja Morant to his 5-year extension worth $192.9. It's a designated rookie extension with no options and can get up to 30% of the cap if he makes All NBA, which I guess now he just can't this year. So he's not going to get 30%, I think, under any circumstances. I'm trying to think. I never remember the specifics. There
was exceptions, but I don't know if a suspension is going to count as an exception. I wouldn't think that it would. And I look, the way it's been framed is that it's potentially cost him tens of millions of dollars. Right. So we're just going to assume he's not eligible.
So that deal looks better now. Got Kennedy Chandler at number 38 from the Spurs for the Lakers, 24 second and $1 million. Signed him to a 2-year, $7.1 million deal. Extended head coach Taylor Jenkins for a couple more years. Got Jake LaRavia for Walker Kessler. I forgot their involvement in the Gobert trade. Anyway, I don't think they ever actually had a chance to keep Kessler. Is that right? Because this is going to look a lot worse if they did and failed to. Ended up with David Roddy and Danny Green for DeAnthony Melton. Not in love with that one. Signed John Conchar to a 3-year, $19 million deal, or extension, I should say, all fully guaranteed. Signed Kenny Lofton Jr. or the second. I can't remember how he prefers to call it, to a 2-way. Kyle Anderson left. Jarrett Culver unsigned and probably will be unsigned in perpetuity. That's all I got. Sorry for the shots fired at Jarrett Culver.
Jarrett Culver's out here catching strays from Grant. Damn.
So let's see. I've already looked at the grades. I gave them a C. You gave the Grizzlies a C-. I can vaguely remember our broad criticism of the Grizzlies offseason, but I'm curious. You're a little lower on them, so I wonder if you do too.
Did you know this? I'm trying to understand what was happening with the Walker Kessler pick. I thought there was a typo with the notes, but did you know that the Jazz are originally owned the Walker Kessler pick that they ended up with in 2019? That pick was traded as a future 2022 first with Grayson Allen, Darius Baisley, and Jay Crowder and Kyle Korver to the Grizzlies for Mike Conley. That pick was part of the Mike Conley trade.
How did it end up in Minnesota?
It was traded by the Grizzlies with Ty Washington to the Timberwolves for Jake LaRavia and a 2023 second that turned into Gregory Jackson. And then the Timberwolves turned around and traded this pick with Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Molermo. Or no, that's not, I'm sorry.
That's the Gobert one.
That's the Gobert one. So that's how it ended up back in Utah. Isn't that kind of funny?
Could they have just kept that pick and drafted Kessler?
Yeah, why couldn't, unless I'm missing something, they chose to, they wanted Jake LaRavia, it seems like, no?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to justify in hindsight, but okay.
Could you imagine Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr. in the same front court?
Good. Yeah, all of the shots get blocked in that situation. There's no every team's going to shoot 20%.
Wow, that looks, I guess I didn't process this in real time. but like they gave up Walker Kessler and number 29 to move up 3 spots.
I'm so unsure that they actually could have gotten Kessler that I'm not going to think about this in terms of my regrade because I don't want to be wrong about it. But do you remember our blanket criticism of the Grizzlies offseason?
They didn't make a swing.
Yep. Yeah. I think, and we talked to Keith Parrish about this a little bit in their look ahead, the Grizzlies look ahead. And it might have been the case that like that swing just was never there. So we were being unfair. But I'm still a little bit annoyed that they didn't just go get like the guy or a guy. I suspect that that's the main reason we were both in the C range for them.
Dude, I'm gonna bump him down to a D-. I have to factor in the Walker Kessler stuff here. Maybe they never would have picked. All right. How do you
Here's the thing. Sorry. Hold on.
No,
nobody knew Walker Kessler was going to be Walker Kessler.
Right. That's they never would have picked him. And there were also there were then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 teams that passed on him as well. Yeah. That's fair. I didn't process it in real time that the Jazz initially owned the Walker Kessler.
No, I didn't. I forgot that too.
And then the journey, like the Grizzlies having it was just not something I remember. So I'm going to bump them down to a D anyway, because it was clear just based off, they were still really good again. It was clear that they should have taken a swing and they didn't. And then you wait for a swing that I'm just repeating what you said. That's kind of, I don't want to say underwhelming, but I would say it's a modest swing where you boxed yourself into a corner to where you needed like a player to fill so many different roles that you maybe couldn't take the swing that you wanted, or now you split your swings into 2 to where you couldn't do like a true consolidation.
Yeah, I think I got to move down a little bit because the Marcus Smart trade, I think we're making the same point, does sort of prove that you did need that guy or a guy, and Marcus Smart is not the ideal fit there. I'm just going to go C-. Just move it down a little bit because otherwise, like, I don't see anything I hate here. The Morant deal was like, of course you do that. Tyus Jones was a good value. He's gone now, but that's worse.
I'll go C- too. I'm being too. C-. All right, I forgot. You are right. I didn't even think of it in those terms. From the team perspective, the contract itself, I guess he's considered more of a risk now, but we know he can play. It's like having him on that without the All-NBA escalator mattering. That's good for this. I'll go C-. Man, these past 2 teams have been very loaded.
Right.
Can we please get to?
Well, I don't know, because you have the Pelicans now that you're gonna have to talk through.
Don't worry. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about the Pelicans, Grant. Don't you worry. Drafted Dyson Daniels at number 8. Drafted EJ Liddell at number 41, who tore his ACL. They signed Zion Williamson to a 5-year, $192.9 million extension. It does have the All-NBA escalators, which clearly doesn't matter now because that is kicking in. He did not make it. There's a weight and body fat percentage where he must total under 295, protections on a year-to-year basis that were not fully clear at the time. And I don't know if you've dug into what those protections might look like now. It's pretty, they're not like, I don't want to say they're not real protections, but it's pretty like he needs to have this career-ending injury or something. Like that's how they're inoculated against it. And I don't know if that's a win for the organization. I think to not have to fully guarantee it, okay, if you want to look at it that way. But I think I kind of fall into the camp of if Zion Williamson had, even if you guaranteed the money, whether it's not guaranteed, whether it's like it is, you're just absolutely screwed if he becomes someone who can't be moved because he's injured, whether his money is guaranteed or not. So, and the protections, by the way, are like still TBD per Spotrac. Like I don't know that they're public knowledge. Moving right along, though, that is it that they did. They lost Tony Snell, so that's a big one. Am I forgetting anything that happened after August 15th?
A couple of extensions, the first of which is CJ McCollum, 2 years, $64 million added on to his deal. Larry Nance Jr. also extended. I don't have,
2 years and $21.6 million.
Pretty darn good for a guy that closed a lot of games for you. And the McCollum one, I think, is kind of just, slightly above market, but he's a name and that's not a ridiculous extension, I guess, for him. I gave the Pelicans, as I look here now, a B. You had them at an A-. I wonder why I was so much lower than you. Probably I was just I've definitely been completely out on Zion as a franchise cornerstone at points. And this was probably one of those where I was just like too scared of the downside of signing him to that deal, and maybe unrealistically suggesting that the Pelicans should have waited a year or whatever. Like, I don't know how plausible that would have been for them. But I gotta believe that that's why I was so negative or relative. I mean, it's still a B. So
negative. You give him like a really high grade.
Negative relative to you. Are you changing anything here? Has enough changed, or have we learned enough to feel differently about this offseason?
I think so. You could view the CJ McCollum extension as more of a net negative. I still just don't think it's a bad deal. Maybe it's a slight negative. I think the bigger miss here, one, I like Dyson Daniels a lot more than I did coming out. He is already like caps lock, bold text, italics defender. Right. And that's great. The questions about his shooting, there's him and Ousmane Dieng are two guys I'm fascinated with, because when you watch them on the ball, whether it's they're actually handling it or they need to just make quick passes while they're on movement without even ever putting that ball on the floor, they have that feel. But what does the shooting look like? Because those are going to be huge swing pieces. So I like that more. The Larry Nance Jr. extension, we probably were high on it. I think it looks even better just in the current cap climate. Yeah. And the Zion Williamson stuff, I probably have the same view, is because this was not an injury that was chronic. This was just another injury creeping up. What else were you supposed to do in this situation? Had you waited until this year, what would that actually, I mean, are you getting him for what? Would he not have gotten the max in restricted free agency? So maybe you save a little bit of money. I'm going to keep it an A- because I do think they should have been more aggressive in acquiring shooting. I know they had Trey Murphy, but like even this offseason, you kind of look back and should they have changed up like the front court to include more shooting? Should they look at getting a guard who could shoot better? They're really going to look like rely on, or not rely, but with the Trey Murphy injury now, Jordan Hawkins could be really important as a rookie. It's kind of the same story as last season. When you look at where they struggled the times this year, my counterpoint to that is their defense by and large was great. They're good at rebounding. They can limit opportunities in transition. Guys are, for the most part, they're not good at protecting the rim, but they limit how much opponents get to the rim, which is a big deal. And then their offense, when Zion Williamson was on the floor, spacing be fucked, was just still 190 points per 100 possessions or something. Right. I'm going to leave it the same. There were still some missed opportunities. I still remain, this will be the year. If Zion can't play in 60 games or most of the season, like maybe they rest him, whatever, with the new rules within it, that's when I will go back and relitigate. Did they make a mistake? I'm just reticent to call it a mistake, because to me, in the situation that the Pelicans are in, your path to a title is betting on this guy and it working out.
Right. And not only that, consider the market, again, I know everyone's sick of this, but like as an asset preservation, like if you are not going to build the title contender in New Orleans around him, you can theoretically trade him like that for something as opposed to like, so yeah, I was trying to decide like how differently I feel about Zion's outlook on this deal now versus a year ago. And I think you probably have to feel worse, because he did miss another season and he did have some like maturity / off court / decision-making issues that, it doesn't matter as much as him not playing basketball for most of the year, but it's also not nothing. So I think I feel a little worse about it. And since that's the biggest thing, I should move the grade down. But again, I think you're right. Like, what else were you going to do in this situation? Like, can you imagine if they'd said, we're going to wait a year? We're not going to extend you yet. I think then the Zion's getting out of New Orleans goes crazy. And you have to deal with that.
Despite his injury, if he didn't sign an extension, would he have just taken the qualifying offer? It would have been, no, they're offering you someone was good. You would have gotten a 4-year max offer from someone on the open market anyway. So you just would have signed that, even if the Pelicans weren't offering it.
So that's a very roundabout way of saying, I'm just going to leave it to, I'm going to call it a B. I just can't, I guess I can't penalize the Pelicans for that deal. And that's really, with respect to, Dyson Daniels as someone we both like, looking pretty good as a number 8 pick. I think it's just all the Zion thing. And I guess maybe my opinion hasn't changed enough to really move that grade.
Do you want to take us to the San Antonio Spurs? And I'm kicking myself right now because I have not time-stamped the Pelicans or the Rockets. And now I'm going to have to go back and post. What an idiot.
Peek behind the bummer curtain. All right. So, gosh, this feels like 1,000 years ago, but the Spurs traded DeJounte Murray and Jock Landale to the Hawks for Danilo Gallinari, who was waived. Charlotte's 23 first with top 16, top 14 protection, and 24 and 25 respectively. Got a 25 first unprotected from the Hawks. Got swap rights in 26 and got 27 unprotected first from the Hawks. Drafted Jeremy Sohan at number 9, Malachi Branham at 20, Blake Wesley at 25. Got Keldon Johnson on a 4-year, $74 million extension. Some unlikely bonuses can bring that to 80, which would still be a darn good deal. Claimed Isaiah Roby, traded Kennedy Chandler, who we mentioned already, to the Grizzlies for the Lakers 24 second and $1 million. Lost Lonnie Walker IV to the Lakers. And that is all I have, unless we have any after the wire moves.
Yeah, no, after August. So there was the Josh Primo stuff. He got waived by San Antonio after allegations of sexual assault from a therapist or psychologist that worked for the team. They did also sign Charles Bassey to a 2-way contract after we recorded. I don't know. This is another morally tough franchise to handle, because how do you view the Josh Primo? They knew about the allegations way before they waived him, and that was in response to the not the allegations, but the allegations becoming public.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to give that was a dismissive. Yeah. It was like, I was going to say, yeah, but I don't care about that. Of course, that's a huge deal. I just they did waive him though, they did, and that's
they didn't try and trade him.
Yeah.
Hashtag Houston.
They did make the right decision, and they did it. I mean, he was a high pick and he was really young. There's definitely franchises around the league that would have, I think, probably not gone that route. So I'll be honest, I'm not going to factor Josh Primo, mostly because as I was thinking about this, he wasn't on the list, and I'm, already kind of made up my mind about what I'm going to do for the Spurs here. But yeah, unless you have more to say about Primo, are you? I don't see we gave really high grades to the Spurs, and I'm not seeing a reason to change anything.
Yeah, I'd probably leave. We both had A's. I'd probably leave it as an A when looking at the transactions. And we're not dismissing the Josh Primo stuff at all. We could bump them down to an A- for not. That's it was different because they weren't planning. These are regrades, and I'm not trying to marginalize the real, more important off-court shit that's happening. They were not tailoring their team around Josh Primo to the extent that the Rockets apparently were with Kevin Porter Jr. And that's what's so disturbing about the Rockets organizationally.
Yeah. That's a big distinction to draw. I think it's two very different situations. I mean, some hits here. Sohan at 9. I mean, that we both love him. Keldon Johnson, I'm, going to be something less than a star, might not make an all-star game, probably won't make an all-star game, but wouldn't be crazy if he did. For average annual value of less than 20 million. That's good business. The Murray trade, I think, looks really great, even though he did extend. And part of the reason I think San Antonio moved him was that he wasn't gonna.
Oh, how about, look, if you want to, in theory, I'm not going to ratchet it up. If you don't trade DeJounte Murray, you probably don't have Victor Wembanyama.
No, I mean, I think that's a given, right?
Unless did Murray get injured or something, but
your odds are way worse, significantly worse. And it turned out there was nothing more important this season for the Spurs than maximizing those odds. So yeah, that's a great point.
Really quickly on Keldon Johnson, it doesn't even matter to me. I would bet against, if you gave me 0.5 All-Star games for his career, I'd take the under. But as of right now, and these projections could actually go up, he is never on this deal. The largest share of the cap he will ever account for is next season at 14.7%.
Yeah. And he's a starter. He's a starter for most teams in the league, right?
I'm kind of disenchanted. I don't know that he can broaden his offensive horizons like I was hoping. The off the dribble jumper or something, maybe even the above the break 3 in general feels kind of shaky, but just a home run deal. So I wouldn't change a grade there. I'll recap these very quickly, but I didn't jot down your Minnesota Timberwolves regrade. You went from a B to a D?
I probably had to, let's see, you went down 2 full. I bet I went down to a D. Let's call it a D.
I thought I just didn't want to do it on your behalf. So let's recap here. Very quickly, the Dallas Mavericks, I gave them initially a D-. Grant gave them a C-. I gave them an F-. Grant gave them an F in the regrades. The Denver Nuggets, I gave them a B. Grant gave them an A-. We both bumped them up to A pluses. The Golden State Warriors, we both gave them a B. I knocked them down to a C+. Grant knocked them down to a B-. The Houston Rockets, I had an A-. Grant had an A. I bumped them down to a D-. Grant bumped them down to a C-. The Los Angeles Clippers, I gave an A-. Grant gave an A. We both bumped them down to a B. The Lakers, I had a D+. Grant had a D-. I bumped them up to a C-. Grant bumped them up to a D+. The Grizzlies, I gave them a C-. Grant gave them a C. I stayed at a C-. Grant knocked them down to a C-. The Minnesota Timberwolves, B+ from me and a B from Grant initially. I bumped them down to a D+. Grant gave them a D, as he just mentioned before. I had an A- for the Pelicans. Grant had a B. We both stayed the same. A- for the Pelicans from me, B for the Pelicans from Grant. The Oklahoma City Thunder, A's from both of us that were bumped up to A+ from both of us. The Phoenix Suns, I gave them a B+. Grant gave them a B-. I kept them at a B+. Grant left them at a B- as well. The Blazers, I gave them a B. Grant gave them a B+. I went down to a C. Grant went down to a C+. The Kings, I gave them a B-. Grant gave them a D. And we both gave them A's on the regrades. The Spurs, we both gave them A's. They stayed at A's. The Jazz, I gave an A-. Grant gave an A. We both gave them an A+ on the second go around. That was I'm not gonna lie, these were treacherous waters to navigate in the West compared to the East.
They were tough for too many like off-court reasons, unfortunately. But go ahead. I was just going to say, good exercise to do, because it really forces you to question like your way of thinking and hopefully refine it going forward. We'll see if that actually happens.
Your biggest miss was clearly, our biggest miss was actually, your biggest miss was the Kings. I don't even know. For sure.
Yeah. I went from a D to an A on them. I don't think I didn't go that far on the Wolves in the other direction. Not quite.
So yeah, these are instructive. Hopefully you guys like these. If they do poorly, we won't do them again probably, because they're a long podcast, but hopefully you like them, and we're trying to hold ourselves accountable here. However, Grant, you know what time it is?
I am accountable to, oh wait, no, I'm not taking us out. It's time for it's the best time.
That is the new garbage time sound. If anyone watches the show Superstore, we are going to just go through. These are random exercises that we will eventually clip as shorts, but they're kind of fun and instructive. And the ones that we really enjoy will probably bomb. So Grant and I do not give each other any notice on what is coming. That's how garbage time works. And they are light, they're digestible, they're fast. We're not justifying shit as we're doing it. Do you want to start, or you want me to start?
Okay, I'm going to start. I'll start with what you always do to me, which is give me two players with stats that are somewhat similar in a particular area and force me to guess between the two of them which has more of them. Today, we're talking about career triple doubles. Okay. I will give you two players. You tell me who has more career triple doubles out of these two players. We start out with Draymond Green and Domantas Sabonis. Who's got more?
Domas.
By one. Great guess. 32 to 31. Blake Griffin or DeMarcus Cousins? We don't have to be active players if that wasn't clear.
Ooh. I'm going to say DeMarcus Cousins.
It is Blake Griffin. That is also a margin of 1, 10 to 9. Josh Giddey versus Bam Adebayo.
Oh, it's got to be Giddey. You wouldn't have done this otherwise.
It is Giddey, but it's close, 85. Kyle Lauri versus Chris Paul. A couple of vets.
Oh, Lowry's Kyle Lauri.
Excellent. You got it. 21 to 18. Alperen Sengun or Kyrie Irving?
Alperen Sengun.
It is Kyrie Irving, 3 to 2.
Damn it.
Okay. That's all I got for that
one. So let's go back and forth on this. I'll give you mine. I have this. Good luck on this, Grant. That's all I'm going to say.
Ready.
Which NBA player has received more MVP award voting shares for their entire career? LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
Nope, it's LeBron James. Nice try, though. Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal?
I'm going to say Kobe.
Shaquille O'Neal. Kevin Durant or James Harden?
Kevin Durant.
James Harden.
Over
This is
3.
great.
How close are these? Close at least.
Kevin Durant, they're close. Yes, they're close. But I mean, there's only 2. You only have 2 options here, so you're just wrong. I don't really know what that
coin wrong every time.
I will let you know if there's a huge gap. Anyway,
Okay.
Steph Curry or Nikola Jokic?
Oh, Jesus. Jokic.
Yes, correct. Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook?
I'm going to say Chris Paul.
Correct. Tracy McGrady or Dwayne Wade?
Oh, this is tough because Tracy McGrady did you know I was a Tracy over Kobe guy for a very long time?
You still are? Yeah.
I mean, kind of. I'm gonna go Wade.
It's Tracy McGrady. Now, you are a terrible Tracy McGrady fanatic.
See, I overthought it.
Paul George or Damian Lillard?
Paul George.
Correct. DeMar DeRozan or Draymond Green?
Ooh, Draymond.
Correct. Nice job there. And Jimmy Butler or Donovan Mitchell?
Ooh. Jimmy.
Nope, Donovan Mitchell. And finally, De'Aaron Fox or Ben Simmons?
Ooh, MVP award shares. I'm gonna say Ben Simmons.
That is correct. I was hoping I was gonna get you there. Nice job. Nice close. Nice
That was
close.
tough, man. Oh, those are impossible. Okay, where do I want to go with you here? Okay, this is kind of a little bit of a different one. I don't think I even primed you for this one.
We didn't prime each other for anything. So
Well, no, but I kind of told, hey, I got this type of idea. I think you're totally cold on this one. Last year, Dan, there were 25 players who had 50-point, there were 25 50-point games, I should say, last year, accumulated by 14 different players. So some had a few of them. The most was 4. 4 guys had at least 3. All I'm asking you to do is name 7 of the 14 players who scored 50 points in a game last year.
Donovan Mitchell.
Correct.
Damian Lillard.
That's 2.
Oh my God. Why is this already so tough? What did I say? Donovan Mitchell and who? Who's the other one that I got? Dame. Steph had 50 points. Did you include playoffs? Didn't he have a 50-point playoff game?
Regular season.
Oh, I'm taking back my Steph Curry guess. LeBron?
No 50 burgers for LeBron.
James Harden?
None for James.
Joel Embiid?
Joel Embiid, correct.
That's 3. So how many? I should get 3 misses before I fail.
I think you've got your. I will give you 2 misses.
Oh, 2 misses. I already missed twice. Then.
Well, I'm going to say no. You've missed twice. So you get 1 more miss.
My God, why is this so hard? Jason Tatum.
Correct. You're missing the guy with the most.
The most 50. Luka Doncic.
Correct.
Was he the guy with the most?
Yes.
All right. How many is that? Do I have?
You got 5.
All right. I feel a little bit better about this. Jokic had to have a 50-point game.
Did he have a 50-point game? I don't think he did.
No, so close.
You want some more? I'll give you a bonus guess.
I feel like I don't deserve a bonus guess. Giannis?
Giannis had 3.
Okay, all right, so that's 6. Zion didn't have one last year, so I'm not going to count that. I don't think. Watch him have had one. I don't think Shai hit 50. I'm trying to think. Did Davis hit 50?
There's some wild ones in here.
There's some wild ones.
I mean, there's a few guys where you're like, you'll remember them all, but when I tell you, but
oh man, I can't tap out. I need to like.
I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to give you a bonus correct answer because you did say Steph and then moved off it, and he had 2.
Damn it!
You want to hear the rest just for the hell of it? Klay Thompson had 1, 54. Pascal Siakam had 52. Julius Randle had 57. Let's see. You got Mitchell, you got Lillard. Drew Holiday had a 51. I remember that. Darius Garland also 51. Anthony Davis had 55. Devin Booker had 58 and 51. He had a pair of them.
Oh, Booker, damn it. Moving off of Steph and forgetting Booker, I can't forgive myself for
that's tough.
Those are rough. Grant, this is gonna be for the podcast. It's gonna be a long one. I might split them up into probably 2 separate ones when we clip them. Bleacher Report ranked the top 100 NBA players for the 23-24 season, which player finished with the higher ranking?
Oh, man. Okay.
Jalen Brown or Mikal Bridges?
Jalen Brown.
Correct. Steph Curry or Jason Tatum?
Tatum.
Yes, he was 5. Steph was 6. Jimmy Butler or SGA?
Jimmy.
No. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was 11. Butler was 12. Anthony Edwards or Ja Morant?
Ooh, Edwards.
Correct. He was 15. Ja was 21. Scotty Barnes or Victor Wembanyama?
I'll say Wemby.
Nope. Scotty Barnes 53. Victor Wembanyama 63.
Ouch.
Brandon Ingram or Trey Young?
Trey.
Nope. Brandon Ingram was 29. Trey was 30.
Wow.
Tyrese Halliburton or Lauri Markkanen?
Halliburton.
No, it's Markkanen. 32.
What are we doing?
Reese was 33. Devin Booker or Kevin Durant?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say Durant.
Yes, he was 8. Booker was 9. Paolo Banchero or Cade Cunningham?
Paolo.
Nope. Cade 38. Paolo was 40. Kawhi or Damian Lillard?
Oh man, I wish I knew the criteria for this. I'm gonna say Kawhi.
He was correct. 13. Lillard was 14. Austin Reeves or Marcus Smart?
Austin Reeves.
Correct. He was 69. Very nice. And Marcus Smart was 71. Jalen Green or Chris Paul?
Oh, it better be Chris Paul.
Yes, he was tied with Reeves at 69. Jalen Green was 80. LaMelo Ball or Andrew Wiggins?
Ooh, I think people would say LaMelo.
Yeah, it was Andrew Wiggins, though, 45-48. Bradley Beal or Jalen Brunson?
Brunson.
Nope. Bradley Beal was 34. Brunson was 36. Kyle Kuzma or Michael Porter Jr.?
Oh, great one. I'm going to say Kuzma.
Nope. Michael Porter Jr. 71. Kyle Kuzma 77. Drew Holiday or Zach LaVine?
Holiday.
Yes, he was 37. LaVine was 44. James Harden or Kyrie Irving?
I'm going to say Kyrie.
Nope. Harden 22. Kyrie 25.
Wow.
Bam or Domantas Sabonis?
Bam.
Correct. He was 27. Domas was 35. We're going to do a repeat here. Jalen Brunson or Darius Garland?
Garland.
Nope. Jalen Brunson 36. Garland 38. Pascal Siakam or Karl Anthony Towns?
Siakam.
Nope. Karl Anthony Towns 23. Siakam 24. Those were tough. I'm not gonna lie.
At least they're only a couple apart. The ones that I'm missing. Oh, that was tough. You got to think what are the voters saying? It's not my opinion. I'm trying to guess what the consensus is.
For anyone who cares, and I think everyone who listens knows that Grant and I are full-time writers for Bleacher Report. We did not participate in the NBA 100 this year, so these were not clearly Grant. Clearly, Grant.
If I had prior knowledge, I hit it really well because I think I missed more than half. Okay. Here is the one I've been waiting to throw you. This is a segment called You'll Never Guess. And we have easy, medium, and hard. I will start you off with easy. You just have to guess the player. And I will give you small hints that hopefully won't need them all. But by the time we get to hard, you might. First hint, and I like to give these in first person just because it's kind of fun. I have led the league in total defensive rebounds 3 times. I am left-handed. I have made 3 all-NBA teams, but only 1 all-star game. That's weird. I made my debut in 2008-2009 for the Clippers, with whom I played through 2017-18, and I've bounced around since.
Jordan.
You got it. You didn't even need my last 2, which were going to be.
I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to wait or not.
No. Whenever you have it.
Okay.
I destroyed Brandon Knight was my next one. And I just won my first ring was the last clue for that one. All right. Easy was not difficult for you, which is.
Well, I'm not going to lie. After the first 2 clues, I was like, oh, this is harder than I thought.
Well, you got to start a little broad. Okay. Medium. I averaged at least 20 points and 8 assists 6 times in my career. And I said averaged. This player is no longer active. I was the number 4 pick by the Milwaukee Bucks, but never played there in the stacked 1996 draft that included, are you ready?
No. Oh my God. Assist. Oh my
This is the number 4 pick in the draft that included Allen Iverson, Marcus Camby, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Ray Allen, Antoine Walker, Kobe Bryant, Peja Stojakovic, Steve Nash, Jermaine O'Neal. He went ahead of all but 3 of those guys. I'm from Coney Island, and I went to Georgia Tech.
Allen Iverson?
No.
He didn't go to Georgia Tech? Oh, my God.
I have one of Grant's favorite dunks, which you can't read my mind, so that's not going to help you. I started with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was the first team I played for.
Kevin Garnett? No, he didn't average 8 assists. Who is this?
I'll give you more teams because I started with the Wolves. I then played for the New Jersey Nets. I then played for the Suns. Then I played for the Knicks. No. Then I played for the Celtics, and then I played in China for a long time. I have additional clues if you're still stumped. This is a Knicks guy too.
Who am I for? Who drafted? Oh my God. I'm never going to be able to clip this for social media.
I know.
So long.
Let's see. I believe I have a head tattoo. I think. I also had a really cheap shoe that I made cheap so that
Steph Marbury?
That's it. You got him.
Oh my God.
So things that I learned, I forgot that he was drafted by the Bucks.
So did I, and I'm jumping at Dirk.
Well, right, that's another guy that like a buck but never a buck. Okay, that was medium. I hesitate to give you the hardest level because this is kind of just mean, and it's more. I was just stunned when I was looking for ideas for this when I came across a particular stat, which is this: I led the league in total assists in 2012-13. Okay. So you're going back 10 years. That year I averaged 13.9 points and 9 assists for the New Orleans Hornets. Okay. I went to Maryland. I started my career with the Grizzlies. I was a number 28 pick. So I was a first rounder. I was with the Hornets, New Orleans Hornets in 11-12, 12-13, then Sacramento, Toronto, Milwaukee, Brooklyn. I am Venezuelan. Maybe that will help.
Grievous Vasquez?
Correct. He led the amazing. Great job by you. We need a sound of like just raucous applause right now.
I'm just going to play the garbage time and sound again because I love it.
He led the league in total assists in 12-13. Can you believe that?
I thought I knew it when you said that. And I was like, there's no way he led the league in assists. And then once you did the teams, I was like, oh, it's him. And then you said Venezuela, and I was like, all right, we're good.
I don't think I was going to get him. If you'd given me all that same information, I don't think I get him. My last clue was my first name is very close to a synonym for very severe or serious. It is also apparently the name of a general in Star Wars lore.
I need to figure, we might have to hire a video editor to clip those because those are super fun. I might even I should look at how long the segment was and just throw it up as a regular YouTube video.
I mean, if anybody's still listening now, because I teased that you should and may have overpromised and underdelivered, but listeners, if you're interested in these, we can come up with more. And if you're okay with either of us just like hemming and hawing in the dead air while we try to think of obscure players, then boy, do we have options for you if you're interested. You got another one for me?
Yeah, I have. So I have a bunch of guess. We're going to do guess whose NBA draft scouting report this is. And rather than give you clues, because I think it'll be quicker this way, I'm going to give you 4 options on guess whose NBA draft scouting report this was. So they're already in the league, so no rookies from this season. Guess the NBA draft scouting report. He has the ability to play like a guard offensively. Is it Bam Adebayo, Bol Bol, Nikola Jokic, or JaVale McGee?
I want it to be JaVale McGee so bad. I'm gonna overthink this and say Bol Bol.
You should have stuck with JaVale McGee. It's JaVale McGee.
That's so ridiculous.
Whose NBA draft scouting report is this? He's a poor man's Boris Diaw with the shooting upside of Pero Antic, who will probably be the 4th or 5th scoring option when he's on the floor. Is it Wendell Carter Jr., Al Horford, Nikola Jokic, or Karl Anthony Towns?
Okay, hold on. So you have a poor man's Boris Diaw. I love Boris Diaw. The shooting upside of Pero Antic?
Yeah.
Okay, that should be a clue because that should dial me into when was Pero Antic regarded as like anything. So give me my
He played Roy Hibbert out of the league.
give me that's true. It's so relevant forever. Give me my options again.
Wendell Carter Jr., Al Horford, Nikola Jokic, or Karl Anthony Towns.
I think it's Jokic.
That is correct. Very nicely done. Whose NBA draft scouting report is this? Not a standout athlete, hasn't proven that he can consistently create offense for himself, not an isolation player, feeds off the play of his teammates. Is it Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan, Paul George, or Jason Tatum?
Wow. Well, whoever it is, they were not correct about this person. I'm just going to say Jason Tatum.
It is Jimmy Butler.
Wow. I mean, that's the kind of like he's evolved as a player. So that's not unfair.
Honestly, I thought you were going to miss the first two and get that one.
That was the most. Yeah, I could see how you would have said that about Jimmy Butler. The other ones are just like unbelievable. JaVale McGee, guard skills. Love it.
Those are the only ones that I have for you on that.
Okay.
That was fun. I might have to bring that one back. I hope those play well.
I got a couple true or falses that are just kind of hanging around. You want to do? I have literally two true or falses. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, Dan. True or false? Kevin Durant has led the NBA in free throw attempts.
False.
True. Done it twice. 09-10 and 13-14. Dan, true or false? Allen Iverson has over 100 career dunks.
False.
True. 124.
Holy crap.
He had 30 something each of his first 2 years. So he's got half his total in his first 2 years. That's amazing.
I could not watch basketball that long ago. I was like so young. I don't remember it. That shouldn't be
That's all my true or falses for you. Are we good? Got anything else or shall I take us out?
No, that's it for me. That
All
was
right.
fun.
Well,
I enjoyed it.
This was fun, Dan. We had a real smorgasbord of content today. So thank you to everyone who made it this far. Thank you to everyone that just listened to the beginning and for some reason is listening to the outro now. If you have not already done so, please follow us everywhere on our socials at HardwoodKnocks, at Hardwood_Knocks on Instagram. That's the only different one. Everything else is at HardwoodKnocks, Twitter, TikTok, etc. Check out our YouTube. We have lots and lots of shorts and clips banked to go up there. If you don't already subscribe, do that every place. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, buy the merch, which you can get to the website for that and the description of the podcast. And I think on our YouTube page. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks again. And we'll close as always with a shout out to the one and only Frank Ntilikina and an apology to Jared Allen.